So heads up, I'm going to give a little bit of a little bit of a rant here. I've made similar videos before, but I think just want to re-emphasize the point. Yeah, boxing. As I'm speaking, the very talented Canadian fighter Adonis Stevenson remains in critical condition. Now, this is a reminder of the dangers of this sport. I haven't seen any recent updates, but I know that he remains in critical condition. It goes without saying boxing is one of the most dangerous sports. There's no way around that. And that's always been the case, despite whatever regulations have been brought in, the shortening of championship fights and so on. It's always a dangerous sport by nature. I want to talk about a certain kind of fan. Now, I suppose on one hand you could look at it like these people don't deserve attention. And I would dismiss it if we were talking about a couple of people, but I think, unfortunately, they're quite prevalent in the fan base of boxing. And to be quite blunt about it, I hate such people. I hate them. I know hate isn't a very positive thing, but when I consider that men get paralyzed in this sport, the sort of fan that I am talking about, the attitude they have is disgusting. So let me be specific. I am talking about fans who, from behind the comfort of their computer screens, call fighters bums, tomato cans, cards. The very nature of boxing, the term cardis should not be thrown around because, by the very nature of this sport, when a man goes into the ring, whether amateur level or professional, whether famous or anonymous, whether a so called journeyman or a world renowned champion, every single time a man enters the ring, he is taking a risk. So, when I see certain fans from behind a computer screen say this guy is a card, this guy's a bum, or I'll give an example. I've just watched a clip of George Foreman versus Ken Lakusta. Lakusta, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, but Foreman obviously dominated the fight. Lakusta's not a well-known fighter. He was clearly dominated. But I came across one comment, and people might say I'm overthinking this, but it's the sort of attitude I see all too often in this sport. And this guy was, oh, look at this bum Lakusta running away from an old man. So actually, it's insulting both fighters. And this sort of thing really pisses me off because who the hell do these people think they are? What the hell gives someone like that the right to call any professional boxer a bum? Now, clearly the fight wasn't balanced, right? Clearly Foreman dominated it. If you look at the fight, you'll know what I mean. I think Lacusta put up as best an effort as he could under the circumstances, but clearly Foreman was dominant. He was far more powerful. But I really hate fans like that. And I've always felt animosity towards that attitude. Always. I get it. I get that in boxing, passions are raised, um, particularly in an arena, particularly in the actual fight environment. But for people to come out with that sort of garbage behind a screen, I mean, okay, the Costa himself was probably never going to see it. Probably not. But it isn't just as disrespectful to people who are putting their bodies on the line. It's the fact that men do get seriously injured in this sport. And, whenever that happens, people are like, oh, I hope he recovers, prayers for him, and so on. And I'm not saying all those people are insincere, but I checked out this guy's channel, no content, no photo, no videos, a nobody, a worthless nobody. I respect any man that goes into the ring. There's some boxers I like, personality wise, there's others I don't much care for. There's fighters I find arrogant, I don't much like their attitude, either to the sport or to other fighters, but I think by nature You have to be brave to be a boxer. It just comes with the nature of the sport. And the thing about running, I've made this point in videos I've made about Floyd Mayweather. Boxing is not about street fighting. It's about defend yourself at all times. It's about skill. It's about strategy. So I hate the way people throw around the term running. I'm always suspicious of fans that talk like that because it makes me think they don't actually understand what boxing's about. I get it. A brawling style of fighting, that forward sort of aggressive style, is exciting. I'm not going to lie. That makes for an exciting fight. And yeah, that you do get professional fighters who fight in an unprofessional way. I'll give an example. Henry Akinwande versus Lennox Lewis. Akinwande kept clutching. It's not very professional, especially when you're being paid a lot of money. Nevertheless, to call any fighter a coward is a very serious charge. I mean, what is a coward? It's an adjective to describe someone who is scared. That's what coward basically means, right? My contention would be that by definition, if these so-called cards were really scared, they wouldn't agree to the fight in the first place. So it's a contradiction. It's a complete contradiction. I remember at the time of the Mayweather Pacquiao fight, I was totally rooting for Pacquiao, but I was disappointed about the number of Filipino fans in particular who were coming out with, "Oh, Floyd's a chicken, Floyd's running. You people don't know shit about boxing." I'll say that bluntly. You don't know shit about boxing. Um, this has nothing to do with the personality of individual fighters. Boxers are as diverse as any other group of people. There's boxers I like, there's boxers I dislike. I think some guys are overrated, I think other guys are underrated, but that's really not the point. And I know I'm kind of the silent minority here. Sometimes it's depressing because I see these attitudes a lot. We're not talking about one or two individuals, we're talking about too many individuals. And people might say, "Oh, Nathan, you're reading too much into it," or "they're not worth bothering about." But the thing is, they do form a sizable portion of the fan base. It degrades the sport. By all means, criticize a fighter if you think he's fighting dirty or unprofessionally or something like that. That's fine. There's a lot of room for debate around that. One of the things that makes the sport interesting is the fact that there is debate about rankings, about skill, about all the rest of it. And I've engaged in plenty of debates. That's fine. But what I'm talking about is just crude, crass, juvenile disrespect. It's disgusting, quite frankly. And I have no respect for such people. In most cases, they've never been in the ring themselves. And I would say if they have been in the ring, then they should have some empathy. They should understand what it takes. So to hell with them. They're disgusting people. And it makes me wonder what they're like in real life. Because I think sports fans, and not just in boxing and other sports, who have this sort of mentality, I think they have a bit of a shitty attitude in life generally. I think they're the sort of people that just don't respect other human beings. I've no time for them. I think they're scumbags to be quite honest, and I don't care how harsh that sounds. That's what I think of them. I really look down on such people because what the hell gives them a right to call any prize fighter a card or a bum or whatever? Criticism's a different thing. I'm not talking about um, for example, criticizing a fighter's style, like saying, "I don't like the way this guy always clutches," or "I don't like that." But card, really? You're calling a man who puts his body on the line a card? Fuck you. I'd like to see you step in a ring with George Foreman, one of the hardest punchers of all time. It just pisses me off, and it is a side of the sport I must admit depresses me, and it pisses me off, and that's how I feel about it. Let me know your thoughts.